First and foremost, I want to start this video by saying, if you have been affected by the current ongoing California wildfires, or if you've been affected by any wildfires, my heart goes out to you. As a California resident, this entire issue is near and dear to my heart. California right now is going through one of the worst wildfires it's ever experienced, and it is estimated that it will be the most expensive and most damaging wildfire in California history. It will also definitely be one of the most damaging and expensive natural disasters, not just in California history, but in the history of the United States. As I'm sure you're aware, the Pacific Palisades is experiencing massive destruction, and the community of Altadena is all but virtually destroyed. And there are many high-quality videos covering this exactly. This, though, is a personal finance and investing channel, so we're going to look at it from a financial perspective. And one of the main ways this is going to impact not just the residents of these communities, but all of us in California, as well as outside of California, is through home insurance and home insurance premiums. In this video, we will go over how the wildfires in California, as well as the hurricanes in Florida, along with the rest of the rising natural disasters, will directly affect you, regardless of which state you live in. So as these wildfires rage on, it's impossible to put an exact number on how high the damage will actually be. With that said, it's safe to presume that it will be in the billions. And while it's still way too early to tell what even caused all of these fires, and who's going to be responsible for footing the bill, there is incoming evidence that at least one of the fires, the Eaton fire, started near Southern California Edison power equipment. Now, while it's too early to tell if this is actually what caused the Eaton fire, it brings into light some of the issues that California deals with every single year. And that is trying to balance modern times and infrastructure with a lot of the state that is still extremely rugged. And in fact, another wildfire, the 2018 Camp Fire, which up until this point is the most destructive wildfire in California history, was directly caused by Pacific Gas and Electric, an electricity provider just like Southern California Edison. And this 2018 wildfire actually went on to bankrupt the company, costing it over $13 billion to settle with the victims of that fire. And in its preceding bankruptcy restructuring, it actually put together a wildfire survivors fund, which in turn actually went on to sue PG&E executives for negligence. So all in all, on one side of the coin, these current wildfires are extremely destructive. On the other side of the coin, though, California has gone through this before, multiple times. And in fact, a lot of experts are now stating that the wildfire season is year-round. And this is one of the major reasons that every citizen in the United States who is fortunate enough to own a home will experience home insurance premium increases in the coming years. So with that said, as always, my name is Derek, and I got my degree in finance, so you don't have to. I think we need to start with the numbers. And the first one of those is, on average, home insurance across the entire United States, irrespective of where you're located, has increased over 10% just since the last year. And in natural disaster zones like in Florida, home insurance premiums have gone up close to 50% since 2020, with now the average home insurance policy costing over $4,000. And in California, which has strict laws in place which limits the ability of insurance companies to increase premiums unless explicitly granted, causes this weird dynamic in the California insurance market, with periods of weird little insurance premium increases and then massive increases, like the 34% increase just approved for Allstate. This, in a sense, causes whiplash to homeowners who can expect anywhere from 25 to 50% increases for their California home insurance policies. What's also very odd is that even though California has one of the highest risks when it comes to natural disasters in the form of wildfires, California average insurance premiums are actually one of the cheapest in the country. Now, this is of course sure to change, but it shows how these very strict California laws prohibiting home insurance increases affects everybody else. Because you have to remember, home insurance companies are usually for-profit businesses, which means if they cannot turn a profit, they'll shut down. And before we touch on Florida, this brings me to the first major point of this video. Home insurance companies are distributing risk across other areas. And that is why home insurance for the entirety of the United States is increasing, regardless of whether or not you even live in California or in Florida. Now, let's talk about the other coast of the nation, Florida. Florida has yearly hurricane seasons, and every single year they seem to be getting worse and causing more damage. Now, we can sit here all day and argue whether climate change is real or not, or whether it's caused by humans or not. That's not the point of this video. The point is natural disasters are getting worse. Regardless of why, that is going to cause home insurance premiums to spike. And for example, Hurricane Ian, which took place in 2022, was massively destructive, causing over $100 billion in damages. And just a few months ago, in 2024, Florida experienced Hurricane Helene, which also caused billions of dollars in damages. Not only that, since 2020, the price to rebuild homes has gone up dramatically, which means that home insurance providers are not only dealing with more frequent and more severe natural disasters, but they are dealing with higher costs to rebuild these homes. And this has a massive rippling effect in high-risk areas, with insurance providers simply leaving or not renewing policies. This, of course, lowers competition in those areas, which obviously, due to capitalism, drives up the price. And it's making more and more homeowners, especially in California, turn to last resort options. In California, that's known as the FAIR plan. This plan is basically for high-risk homes that cannot find traditional insurance. The problem is these plans are usually extremely expensive, about double what would otherwise be paid, and they have limited coverage. A lot of the times, homeowners have to get supplemental policies for things like liability. And again, going back to the other coast, Florida has another major issue, and that is fraud. Very loose insurance regulations in Florida have allowed fraudulent claims to balloon. And in fact, 79% of insurance lawsuits take place in Florida, even though only 9% of claims take place in Florida. So basically, the United States is almost sandwiched between wildfires and strict regulation, and hurricanes and looser regulation, and because of this, the rest of the country is squeezed financially through increasing premiums. So what does this mean for you, regardless of which state you live in? It means that not only have you probably experienced anywhere from 25 to 50% increases in your home insurance since 2020, but that this is just the beginning. And over the next 4 to 5 years, I wouldn't be surprised if home insurance across the nation doubles from pre-2020 premiums. And what's awful is when you add this on top of the already difficult economic environment. The average American is barely getting by, and this has to do with increased prices due to inflation over the last few years, and on top of that, increased interest rate costs on mortgages and credit card rates due to the fight against that inflation, which means that someone who is fortunate enough to have been able to purchase a home, even in this difficult environment, can expect their mortgage payment, which usually includes the insurance premium for the month, to go up, further putting strain on Americans' financials over the next few years. So when we look at this tragedy that is currently taking place in California, and when we look at the greater tragedy of wildfires, hurricanes, and natural disasters in general, what we find is that it is an issue that's going to affect all Americans, regardless of where they live. So in conclusion, I want to hear your thoughts. How has your home insurance experience been? Have your premiums increased? Have they stayed the same? Let me know in the comments below. And again, if you've been affected by the California wildfires, or any wildfire for that matter, or any natural disaster for that matter, my heart goes out to you. All we can do is try to come together as Americans, and I urge you to join me in donating if you can. And it doesn't even have to be financial. It could be food. It could be old clothing that you don't use anymore. Or if you live near the area, it could be help in cleaning up the area or offering volunteer assistance. And even if you can't do any of that, that's totally okay. I understand, and it is a very tough economic environment. But at least maybe you could volunteer some prayers or some good vibes or some good energy or whatever you believe in and send it that way. With that said, I hope all of you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I hope you're all staying safe out there. If you like personal finance, world economics, and investing broken down simply, you're in the right place, so please consider subscribing if you haven't already. It helps out the channel a ton, and I hope to see you around for the next video. Until then, take care.